When you're standing in the middle of a living room, looking at a sleek, yellow wheel that promises pottery at home, it's natural to feel a little hesitant. You've probably wondered whether that little machine will actually handle the clay you want to throw, or if you'll end up with a pricey paperweight that just gathers dust. That uncertainty is exactly why I'm sitting down today to walk through the real-world experience of the Brent EX pottery wheel so you can decide if it's a genuine fit for your creative space, your budget, and the projects you have in mind. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the kind of setup most people end up with when they bring a tabletop wheel into a home studio. The Brent EX is marketed as a small wheel, and that size really matters. It sits on a compact base that fits comfortably on a standard kitchen table or a modest workbench, meaning you don't need a dedicated workshop. The footprint is roughly the size of a large laptop, and the whole unit weighs just enough to stay stable while you're shaping clay but light enough to move if you need to clear the space for a dinner party. For anyone living in an apartment or sharing a room, that low-profile footprint is a practical advantage that many larger, studio-grade wheels can't claim. One of the first things I noticed in the unboxing was the splash pan. It slides right under the wheel head and catches stray water, glaze, and clay scraps. In my own tests, it actually saved me from a mini flood on the floor when I overfilled a bucket of glaze and tipped it. The pan is easy to lift out, empty, and snap back into place, so cleaning is a quick chore rather than a full-blown mess. If you've ever tried to keep a studio clean, you'll appreciate that little convenience. The controller on the Brent EX is the classic, single-knob style that many hobbyists recognize from older wheels. It's straightforward: turn clockwise to increase speed, counterclockwise to slow down, and there's a dedicated reversing switch. For beginners, that simplicity is a blessing. There's no menu navigation, no digital readouts that can be confusing when you're trying to focus on the feel of the clay. When I first sat down, I could adjust the speed in seconds, and the reversing switch let me easily switch the wheel's direction for centering or for pulling the piece off the wheel after it's firm. That tactile feedback feels more like a traditional tool, which can be reassuring for people who are just getting their hands dirty. Now, let's address the elephant in the room: power. The Brent EX runs on a standard 120-volt outlet, and its motor is designed for smaller projects. Think mugs, pinch pots, miniature bowls, and basic sculpture. When you try to throw a larger, heavier vessel, you'll notice the wheel's torque start to lag. The head will slow down under the weight of a big slab of clay, and you'll have to work a little harder to keep the speed consistent. If your goal is to produce large pottery pieces for a market stall, you might find this wheel underpowered. But for a teen learning the basics, or an adult who wants to make a daily cup, the motor is more than adequate. One of the strengths that often gets overlooked is the 10-year warranty that comes with this model. In the world of hobby equipment, warranties are typically 1 or 2 years, so a decade of coverage signals that Brent expects the wheel to be a long-term companion. It also gives peace of mind if you're buying for a school program where the equipment will see heavy use. The warranty covers the motor and the mechanical components, which means if the wheel ever starts making odd noises or the speed dial sticks, you can send it back without worrying about replacement costs. The package also includes 70 milliliters of free glaze, which might sound modest, but it's a nice starter for anyone who has never glazed before. In my test runs, that amount was enough to glaze 3 small mugs, giving a real sense of how the glaze applies and fires. It's a practical way to jump straight into finishing your pieces without hunting down a separate glaze supplier. Let's get into who should actually consider buying this wheel. If you're a teenager or young adult who has just discovered pottery and wants a dedicated piece of equipment at home, this wheel checks the boxes. It's affordable, it doesn't dominate the room, and the learning curve is gentle thanks to the classic controller. Art teachers looking for a reliable wheel for a classroom of 1,012 students will also appreciate the durability implied by the warranty and the simplicity of the controls. There's less time spent troubleshooting and more time creating. Even hobbyists who already have a larger wheel might pick up the Brent EX as a practice wheel for quick sketches, glaze tests, or small batch production when the studio is busy. On the flip side, you'll